So as Daishin said, I will be talking about the Song of the Grass Hut Hermitage, a poem by Shutu, or Sekito Kisen in Japanese. He lived in the 8th century. He was born in 700 and died in 790, a long life. He is the 8th generation of the Zen lineage, counting from Bodhidharma, a contemporary of Matsu, and all the Zen schools, different lineages, descended from these two masters. He started practicing with Huineng, this sixth ancestor, and became a student of his successor Xingguan, Seigen Gyoshi, after Huineng's death. And we could say he's the forerunner of Dongshan Lingji, the founder of the Shaoshan lineage, which became Soto. And Dongshan lived 100 years later. So we probably all know the Sandokai, the harmony of difference and equality, or difference and unity, as another better known poem of Shutu, which became a fundamental part of the Soto literature. The Song of the Grass Hut Hermitage is not as well known. It's more intimate, maybe a more personal work. And I think it may be more accessible to Westerners, especially lay people. And you will maybe find out why that is. It sounds here as if Shutu is celebrating his favorite lifestyle, living in a little hut in the wilderness. He was not really a hermit, actually. He was a famous teacher who influenced many generations of Zen practitioners. He and Matsu actually sent students to each other. We don't know if they knew each other personally, but they knew about each other through their students. And so when one master thought, oh, this student doesn't really get it, he said, why don't you try the other person, and sent them to the other master. And Matsu once called him slippery. This, yeah, you see, he's slippery. So the origin of Zen or Chan lies in the confluence of the emptiness teachings from India with the ancient Taoist tradition of China. And so it's not surprising that we find a strong Taoist element in this poem. And I want to quote from the Book of Harmony. It's called the Book of Balance and Harmony. This was a translation by Thomas Cleary. The waning and waxing of energy and matter are the movement and rest of things. Rising and retiring by day and night are the movement and rest of the body. Everything, including the advance and retreat of the person, the arising and vanishing thoughts, the fortune and adversity of the world, the success and failure of tasks, is a matter of the alternating rise and fall of movement and rest. If you observe their patterns of movement and rest, you can see the myriad changes of myriad events and the conditions of myriad beings. When you are mindful in times of rest, you are observant in times of movement. If you have self-mastery in times of rest, you can be decisive in times of movement. If you have stability in times of rest, actions will not lead to unfortunate results. Rest is the foundation of movement. Movement is the potential of rest. That is from Thomas Cleary's book, The Taoist I Ching. And I often feel like this is the contrast, this movement and rest also of what Suzuki Roshi called the small mind and big mind. The small mind that's always moving, always changing, always having new ideas, and never standing, never being still, that we can observe when we're sitting. And the big mind, that's the background, that's the rest, where nothing is moving. So I feel that is kind of, for me, that it's a similar idea. So now I would like to share my screen and show you the text, and I will read it, and you can read it with me, but please stay muted. All right, can you see it? I'll make it bigger here. All right. Song of the Grass Hut Hermitage. I've built a grass hut where there's nothing of value. After eating, I relax and enjoy a nap. When it was completed, fresh weeds appeared. Now it's been lived in, covered by weeds. The person in the hut lives here calmly, not stuck to inside, outside, or in between. Places worldly people live, he doesn't live. Realms worldly people love, he doesn't love. Though the hut is small, it includes the entire world. In 10 square feet, an old man illumines forms and their nature. A great vehicle bodhisattva trusts without doubt. The middling or lowly can't help wondering, will this hut perish or not? Perishable or not, the original master is present, not dwelling south or north, east or west. Firmly based on steadiness, it can't be surpassed. Excuse me. I'm lost here we go. A shining window below the green pines. Jade palaces of a million towers can't compare with it. Just sitting with head covered, all things are at rest. Thus this mountain monk doesn't understand at all. Living here, he no longer works to get free. Who would proudly arrange seats, trying to entice guests? Turn around the light to shine within, then just return. The vast, inconceivable source can't be faced or turned away from. Meet the ancestral teachers. Be familiar with their instructions. Bind grasses to build a hut, and don't give up. Let go of hundreds of years and relax completely. Open your hands and walk, innocent. Thousands of words, myriad interpretations are only to free you from obstructions. If you want to know the undying person in the hut, don't separate from the skin bag here and now. So I will go through the poem pretty much line by line, and then we can talk about it and have a conversation. So Shutu here seems to be speaking of himself. The protagonist built a hut in the mountains just as he did. His name, Shutu, actually means rock ledge. It is a nickname. He was known for the hut that he built east at the temple on an outcropping. And maybe it was in his old age that he retreated to this little hut, because he says at some point, the old man illumines forms and their nature. So he says here, I've built a grass hut where there's nothing of value. Although this may sound simple, maybe almost sentimental, but like the Sandokai, it is a skillful means to convey basic Buddhist teachings like impermanence and non-attachment. So there's nothing of value. He's not interested he's not attached to anything. After eating, I relax and enjoy a nap. So we can see the Taoist movement and rest. He builds this hut, and then he eats, and then he rests. When it was completed, fresh weeds appeared. That's impermanence, constant change. And we are reminded of Dogen's Genjo Koan, where he says, in attachment, blossoms fall, and in aversion, weeds spread. In Zen literature, weeds or grass means phenomena or, things of the world, also delusions. And there are many koans where also Dongshan, there's a famous koan by him where he talks to his students at the end of the practice period in the summer, and he says, so now you will go out and, and have different experiences. And I want you to go I want you to walk where there is not a single grass blade for 10,000 miles. And then after a while, he says, well, how would you walk there is no grass? And then there is somebody, Shishuang made a comment and said, well, there's grass right outside the gate. And then another commentator says, well, I'd say there's even grass inside the gate. So, we will always meet worldly things, and the delusions come up. I don't think we can, just like the grass, like the weeds, we cannot really avoid them completely. We cannot be attached to them, but still, they appear. So the person in the hut lives here calmly. And now he talks about the third person. He doesn't talk about himself anymore. He talks the person in the hut, not stuck to inside, outside, or in between. So there are no attachments, and he doesn't mind the weeds. And he says he's not like worldly people. So there may be a little bit of arrogance here. Those people who like to live in mansions, and, he also doesn't love the realms of worldly people, maybe who want to have fun, the realms where they enjoy themselves. No, that kind of thing he doesn't really go for. Instead, he illumines forms and their nature, concerning himself with the fundamental questions of reality, form and emptiness, the most important thing, right? And he is in a 10 square feet hut. He doesn't need a lot of space. So I want to show you a picture of this 10 square feet hut. We don't know what Shutuz was like, but there was a Japanese monk who lived in the 12th century who who left the world also and lived in a little hut that he built. And this is German. This is from a German book. So you can see this is the hut, the square piece. And there's a roof here, a Vordach that's in front of the window. And then he has here like a veranda, and there's a place here for offerings that he makes. So this is outside the hut, and that's probably where he comes in right here. So this is his bed. It's made from ferns, and then there is a screen here, a shoji screen, And on this side, there is his altar with a Bodhisattva and Amida Buddha. And then there is the Lotus Sutra here. So probably a Pure Land, or maybe but definitely a Buddhist practitioner. And then there are two instruments here, the koto and biwa. He was famous for playing the biwa. His name was Kamo no Chomei. So, and then this is a shelf here with 3 leather baskets. So this is basically it. And you can see how this could be quite a nice little place. And this man, Kamo no Chomei, I show you the book. This is the German book, Aufzeichnungen aus meiner Hütte, which means the notes from my hut. And it's like an autobiography of this time. So, so this little hut, 10 square feet, is small, but it includes the entire world. And that may be a reference to the Huayan teachings, who were also very prominent at that time, which was also Mahayana based on the Avasamsaka Sutra and very closely related with Zen. So it was said that Chan is the practice and Huayan is the theory, or the philosophy of it. And this Huayan teaching is based on the Avatamsaka Sutra, as I said before, the jewel net of Indra, the complete interpenetration and non-obstruction of phenomena and emptiness. So when he says he is illumined form and their nature, that is the phenomena and the emptiness of phenomena. So that sounds very much like Huayan. So he is a Mahayana monk, he says, a great vehicle bodhisattva who trusts in ultimate reality. So he doesn't mind if the hut perishes. He is more advanced than the middling or lowly people who can't help wondering, will this hut perish or not? Of course it will perish. It's made of grass, right? But that's not the point. This is not relevant for him, because he trusts in ultimate reality. Whatever happens is okay. And it says here, the master is present. The original master, I think it says, sorry, I'm missing one page here. Anyway, but he says that the master, the original master, is present, and that I think refers to not just the master or the host of this little cabin, but actually Buddha nature itself, that he feels he is everything and he is also part of that. So this master is always present, not dependent on conditions. And later he says, who would proudly arrange seats to entice guests? Of course, if someone shows up, that's fine, but he makes no effort to be a good host. The wind may blow from any direction, from south, north, east, or west, but he stays where he is, firmly based on steadiness. And this may be speaking of the solid rock that this hut is built on, but I think it could also be a metaphor for his unmovable faith. based on steadiness, firmly based on steadiness. The shining window below the green pines, you can just imagine how beautiful this is. Jade palaces of vermilion towers can't compare with it. So nature is more magnificent than human-made artifacts, even if they are palaces made of jade, because they're not alive. This is alive. This is suchness. And this is the perfect environment to meditate. Just sitting with head covered, all things are at rest. So the senses are stilled, and also perceptions and thoughts are not activated, just sitting. Thus this mountain monk doesn't understand at all. No more interested in knowledge. This don't know mind that we hear about later in the Zen literature. He knows that no effort is necessary to achieve anything. He's already liberated. He no longer works to get free. So, and now he addresses the monks. And this is the most important instruction in the whole poem. This line where he says, turn around the light to shine within, then just return. So we hear Dogen in the Fukan Zazengi, learn to take the backward step that turns the light and shines it inward. Like I said before, that is a Zazen instruction. But it also says, then just return. And of course, as a bodhisattva, he knows that we need to return to the world. And I want to show the ox herding pictures. I only have this big poster here, unfortunately, but I hope you can see it. You're probably familiar with the sequence of these pictures. And I want to show the eighth picture here, which is that being at rest, being in Zazen, where there is no more thinking, and that's called transcendence. And then the source is reached and the phenomena are appearing again. And then in the 10th picture, he's an old man now, and he's playing with the children in the marketplace. So that is the Bodhisattva's way. Going up the mountain, enlightenment, and then going down again. So this is turn around the light to shine within, then just return. So this meditator becomes aware of the inconceivable source, this source that cannot be faced or turned away from. And we hear Dongshan later, 100 years later, in the Song of the Jewel Mirror Samadhi, which also became a very important teaching in Zen. He picks that up in the verse, turning away and touching are both wrong, for it is like a massive fire. So the source of all that is so vast and so powerful that it cannot be faced or touched. But it also cannot be turned away from, because we are intimate with this source. In fact, we are it. There's no escape. So after transcendence, as I said, in the cowherd reaches the source in the 9th picture, and phenomena arise again. And now, as an old man, he enters the world playing with the kids. So our task now, after meditation, is to meet and listen to the ancestral teachers for advice. They tell us to bind grasses to build a hut, So that is the activity again. So now when we are back in the world, we need to use these grasses, these delusions or these things of the world, and transform them into wisdom. Don't just let the weeds grow. Use these delusions in a constructive way to benefit all beings. And don't give up. The Bodhisattva keeps going forever. We don't give up ever. Let go of your karmic conditioning that has accumulated for hundreds of years. So let go of hundreds of years and relax completely. And here again is the contrast of movement and rest. So there's another beautiful Zen phrase: open your hands and walk innocent. Opening our hands has many meanings. It can be a gesture of have no fear. I'm not going to harm you. It is also a gesture of giving, not holding on to possessions, having an open hand. Uchiyama uses the expression opening the hand of thought, a mind that's free of concepts. Walking innocently, like beginner's mind. We don't bear grudges. We have no preconceived ideas. Just meet everyone and everything as it is. All the teachings and interpretations of the ancient and modern masters, including this one, are skillful means, only to free you from obstructions. You will have to find the truth for yourself. And if you're interested in knowing the secret of life and death, you will only meet it here in your own body-mind. If you want to know the undying person in the hut, don't separate from the skin bag here and now. And I'm reminded of the Buddha, who also mentioned that the only place where we can be liberated is through this fathom-long carcass with its perceptions and its mind that I describe the world, the origin of the world, the cessation of the world, and the way leading to the cessation of the world. So that is from the Samyutta Nikaya 236. And this is my talk. And I think it would be nice to read it again. I just mentioned all the lines, but I think if we look at it again, and you will maybe remember what I said, and then we can talk about it. I'll share my screen again. I've built a grass hut where there's nothing of value. After eating, I relax and enjoy a nap. When it was completed, fresh weeds appeared. Now it's been lived in, covered by weeds. The person in the hut lives here calmly, not stuck to inside, outside, or in between. Places worldly people live, he doesn't live. Realms worldly people love, he doesn't love. Though the hut is small, it includes the entire world. In 10 square feet, an old man illumines forms and their nature. A great vehicle Bodhisattva trusts without doubt. The middling or lowly can't help wondering, will this hut perish or not? Perishable or not, the original master is present, not dwelling south or north, east or west. Firmly based on steadiness, it can't be surpassed. A shining window below the green pines, jade palaces of 1,000,000 towers can't compare with it. Just sitting with head covered, all things are at rest. Thus, this mountain monk doesn't understand at all. Living here, he no longer works to get free. Who would proudly arrange seats trying to entice guests? Turn around the light to shine within, then just return. The vast, inconceivable source can't be faced or turned away from. Meet the ancestral teachers, be familiar with their instruction. Bind grasses to build a hut and don't give up. Let go of hundreds of years and relax completely. Open your hands and walk innocent. Thousands of words, myriad interpretations are only to free you from obstructions. If you want to know the undying person in the hut, don't separate from this skin bag here and now. Thank you very much. So if you have any comments or questions, please feel free.
Yes, please. We only have a short time here, so feel free to unmute and go right ahead.
I'd also like to see everybody now, so exit my full screen. Okay, great. Hi, Eric.
Yes.
Did you raise your hand?
Yes.
Okay.
I could ask many questions, and I just wanted to say thank you because
I am hard of hearing, and I don't know. Maybe I can.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I'll try to speak up. Thank you. I wanted to say thank you because I realized how much learning from a teacher in a community is vital, because it's difficult to read a text and get all the nuance. Even if one is reading a commentary, there's just something about hearing the words spoken and from someone who's practiced, wholeheartedly for a long time, that I feel like makes all the difference for me when I hear a teaching. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I agree, because there is, when you have practiced for a while, like I have and Daishin has, you have a lot more stuff to go back on, but there is more context. And so there's just, there's just no more that I've heard over the years and learned. And so I can make the connections with the text. Many of the Dongshan and Dogen and many other teachers who have very similar ideas, and then you can sort of get more of a context, and that happens the more you practice. Actually, the more you learn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judy.
Yeah, thank you. This was so rich. It seems like a piece that one could study maybe even for a year. So, as we know, as practitioners, it's to benefit, the ultimate is to benefit all beings. And I'm wondering, as I listen to you read this, that the piece about meet everyone and everything just as it is that the ultimate benefiting of all beings?
I think so.
That's the work then, right? The letting go, the being.
Right.
Okay.
Letting go of your own preconceptions of what you think things are or people are, and just meeting them as they are. And that way you can actually be helpful, maybe. It's all skillful means. We have to find a way to connect with the world and with situations. And that's, it's not easy. but it is certainly easier when you don't have your own ideas already fixed, you know. Yeah, so to talk about this poem, I came across through Taigen Leighton, who translated it, and he actually found it. He translated it together with Kaz Tanahashi, and he found it when he was researching Shutu's biography, and he found this poem that wasn't known, and so he translated it, and then Ben Connolly wrote a little book on it. Let's see, I have it here. Inside the Grass Hut. And it's really beautiful little work. And also it is chanted in some of the temples. So at San Francisco Zen Center, we were not chanting it, but when I was in Austin for a conference, they were chanting the Song of the Grass Hut Hermitage as a part of the morning service. And also in Taigen's temple in Chicago, they are chanting it. So I thought, well, we could pick it up. So we're actually chanting it on Thursdays also as a morning service. And people like it. It's not as long as some other texts. Daniel.
I really enjoyed listening to that, as there were a lot of moments of seemingly conflicting sentences that were not, when you think about it and stop thinking about it, conflicting at all. You hear about phenomena like the grass hut arising, and eventually the grass hut will be no more.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain level, we are tempted to say, well, what about the grass hut? How's it going to demise? What's going to happen? And yet the whole poem is saying the grass hut is a part of the circumstance of which it exists, and is the circumstance in which it exists. It is both all and it is about, it is part and it is all and it is none. And those who find the Buddha way inside of this place of being, which is amongst all of the things that we do, are truly looking for that steady presence. And I thought that was really nice that they put that in there. And so I really enjoyed that a lot, and I thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Daniel. I think in China, I think it may still be a custom that people retire to the mountains. That I don't know about. Daishin, do you know about this? Because there are also books about hermits in China, and there was a movie made about it too. Really interesting. So that is quite often, especially when people feel their age, when they've done their responsibilities in the world, they actually retreat to the mountains and build themselves a little hermitage there. So I think that is not so unusual. And it looks like also in Japan it was done. So yeah, that sounds good to me.
My teacher's teacher, yeah, feel free to raise your hand if you want to talk, but my teacher's teacher, he built several little huts on his mountains, Kappa Dojo, and my teacher lived in one for 15 months prior to going to the women's monastery. And when I went to visit him, I was there for about 3 weeks, and one of the nights I asked if I could have permission to sleep in the little hut, and it was a soy sauce vat that was converted into a little hut that was about 6 foot in diameter.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it was a circular building with a roof on it and a window cut into it and a small door that you really had to duck down and to get into it, and a braided carpet for the floor. So yeah, people do that.
Yeah, and I think people bring them food, or they go out also like a couple times a year or so and bring back a big bag of rice or something. And they also live of herbs. They often have a little garden there. So it's quite amazing. It sounds like a wonderful way of living. And at the same time, he feels he's not away from the world. He says the whole world is actually there, and that, of course, is the Zen teaching also, that you are never separate from anything.
We're at our time here, but I want to just share one thing that there's a couple lines in there where he talks about that he doesn't really know.
That's right.
He doesn't really know, and it's just such a beautiful way of expressing Buddhist understanding of not knowing. And it reminds me of you mentioned the Pure Land Buddhists. My teacher shared a saying from a Pure Land Buddhist. Something goes like this: I wish for wisdomlessness. So it just kind of blows our mind of, we're constantly grasping, even after spiritual stuff, even after wisdom, we want to have wisdom. And even letting go of that stuff too is, I hear that in this poem, taking a nap. Everybody loves it. We need permission in our culture to take a nap almost, right? And so there it is. Go take a nap when you're tired. Don't stress out.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Reirin,
okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody.
So much
how do you end? Do you do a chant or anything?
Yeah,
or
we often recite the 4 vows. So I can.
Yeah, that's what we do too.
Yeah, let's just do the 4 vows once in English. Things are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to master them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. All right. Thank you again, Reirin, so much. It was
Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah,
good
such
to
a
see
pleasure.
you all.
It's an honor. Thank you.
It's dark here.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.